folks, welcome ye all to yet another vlog of mine. It is Friday once again, people, which means only one thing: flagons up to you all. I'll have a sip of this before we get going. We do have a few things to talk about this week, as it happens, one of which I'm a little bit delayed on. I mean, people have been talking about it for about a fortnight now, and I just didn't bother mentioning it last week because it completely passed me by. Well, it didn't pass me by, I forgot to talk about it, that was all. I knew it was happening, I just forgot to mention it, people, you know. That's how excited I was about it. Flagons up to you all, quick sip. You know I'd buy you one. Very nice, very cold, very wet, very alcoholic. Lovely. Tick, tick, tick. So, we have, and you'll see from the title, I am sure the biggest thing I wanted to talk about was that it kind of crossed my radar this week. It's not, by the way, before I get going, it's Cafe Steve is not outside today because it is absolutely leathering it down, people. Or if you're in Scotland, pishing doon. It's been pishing it doon for 2 days, I tell you what, eh? But it is still warm, so I've got the door wide open. And I'm still a bit flushed, people, you know. I went for a swim today, though. That cooled me down a little bit. Anyway, I digress. So it crossed my path this week that there's this Lord of the Rings MMO in development, of which I was completely oblivious. I think most people were oblivious to it. I'm not sure how this came about. I personally found out if you haven't subbed up to Naomi. God, I've forgotten a second name. Naomi, that used to be at IGN. If you haven't signed up to her YouTube channel, you should sign up to it because she does a weekly games summary of what's gone on that week. Most weeks, sometimes she's away working and doing other things, but most weeks she will do one of those. It's just like the IGN Daily Fix kind of thing, but she does it for the whole week rather than every day. And it's probably more professional than the one she did for IGN, to be fair. And so it's all, you know, really crisp, really cool. And she started it because all of the fans following her channel were asking her why she didn't do one or something similar. So she started it, and it's really, really good. And she always covers all the main things, which is quite cool. It's a proper studio and just her presenting in her awesome way like she always has. So yeah, if you haven't signed up to that, but that's where I found out about this Lord of the Rings MMO, and I googled it before we did the vlog. So what I'll do is I shall move position. I have the laptop here, so I googled it to see what more information I could find. So I'm just going to read out what is this my good side? That's my good side. But I don't really have I have a better side. I'm not sure if I have a good side. But I've got one side that's better than the other. Anyway, you'll have to cope with my worst side. So we have the laptop here, and let me read out. This is PC Gamer's details on it. There isn't many details, and it isn't out, and it isn't coming out for ages. But I was really uber excited about the fact that there was one in the mix, and it's based on the books as well. So rather than the films, which is terrific because that just opens things right up. So, I mean, the films to some extent were quite a linear version of the books, but it's the only way you can really do the films because, I think Amazon might get away with doing more with the TV series because they'll be able to go on for bloody ever, so they might be able to cover a lot more of that world than the films ever could. The films always felt like everything happened in like a year. And it wasn't. It was over about 20 years or something. I can't remember. The time scale of the books is huge. But anyway, I'm not going to go into all that, people. You get me started on Lord of the Rings. I mean, I love the films, don't get me wrong, but the book is just, you know, a gazillion times superior than anything you could possibly do on screen. So, where are we, people? Come on, Stephen, get your act together. It's a professional site, this, you know, people. So here we go. I'm just going to read it out as it is. This is from PC Gamer. Amazon Game Studios' latest project is an MMO based on The Lord of the Rings in collaboration with Chinese publisher Leyou Technologies Holdings. I'm hoping I've said that right. I don't know what these guys have done before, but Amazon are already making an MMO, apparently, which it mentions later, which is a completely different one. It will be a free-to-play affair and lets players explore Middle-earth with mates long before the events of the trilogy. So we're going, it's a prequel MMO, effectively. Which is still great, you know, because if you excuse me, blimey, people. Burping on camera, what's that all about? The thing is, if you stick to the story of the film, you kind of you're kind of stuck, to follow that path to some degree. So if you just use the world, you can probably get away with a lot more. And you can, you've got all the races, all the languages, I mean, the lore itself is just so deep. Even the appendices and indexes have got so much stuff in them that, about stuff that happened before, the stuff that happened after, and anyway. I will read this without digressing too much now, will I? I'll talk about it as I go through. So, yes, it will be a free-to-play affair with your mates, and long before the trilogy. There is... I can't scroll, people. There is, of course, already a Lord of the Rings MMO, Lord of the Rings Online, which I've never seen. I assume that's a PC thing. Which is positively antediluvian, by MMO standards, launching 12 years ago, so it's old, I think is what he meant. Unlike Amazon's adaptation, however, it follows Tolkien's trilogy and lets you see what was going on the rest of Middle-earth while all the bad business was going on. All right, okay. So that one that's out now is during the same time frame as the books were and the films, but not in the story of the main story, everything else that was going on. Seems reasonable. I don't know, if anyone's played that, let me know in the comments below if it's any good. I've never come across that game in my puff. I'm assuming it's not on console. I would have come across that, surely to God. If it is, somebody let me know. But I'm almost positive that's going to be a PC thing. So, despite a premise that echoes Amazon's upcoming Lord of the Rings TV series, the pair are apparently unrelated. The MMO was actually announced in 2018 before Amazon's involvement when Leo's subsidiary Athlon Games revealed a partnership with Middle-earth Enterprise. As with the announcement today, details about the game itself were sparse. The team will include developers from Amazon's other MMO, New World, which is also still in development. It's a crafting PvP sandbox that aims to be largely systems driven. The Lord of the Rings MMO doesn't have a name yet, so expect the release date to be quite a while off. So there you are. So that's pretty much all we've got. But, just knowing that that's happening is pretty cool. My problem with MMOs is every MMO I've always played is I always kind of drift off at some point because there's not enough story content to keep me interested, or I find the quests repetitive, or I just find myself running around spitting shit everywhere and not finding it much fun. That said, I tend to play these things on my own, and I know that they're built for groups of people. So every now and then we find one, don't we? Like Path of Exile or what have you, which I've spent a lot of time on. And I'll probably go back to be fair, but they pissed me off by taking all my points spent off of my bloody tree, about 50 odd points, and I couldn't figure out, I said in a previous vlog, couldn't figure out how to put them back on in the places that I needed them for the kit that I had and the gems that I had. And so they lost me at that point. I'll need to start a new character at some point. So I'm uber excited about that. I've never heard of that studio. I didn't really know that Amazon were on with a lot of gaming stuff. I assume they must have done a lot of PC stuff up until now, because I haven't seen anything Amazon related hitting console, or I certainly haven't. It hasn't triggered in my brain cells that a game has been related to Amazon, if there is some. So, but that's absolutely fantastic, and I like the fact that they're going outside of the main story and just using the world and the lore. I like the fact that they're basing it on the books rather than anything to do with films. So, I mean, they're basing it on the books, presumably just for the lore and the land and the races and the languages and the, because you can't use any of the story. So, basing it on the books is a bit light. So, you're basically just plucking the bits out of the lore and the land, aren't you? And you're not going to have any of the people. Well, that said, you might have some of the elves, to be fair, because they don't die, do they? They're who wants to live forever? What a song. So so some of the elves in theory could be there. I can't remember off the top of my head how old some of the elves were in. I know the Queen of the Forest and all that. She was Adriel and Andriel, was it? I can't remember her name now. God, that's terrible, isn't it? I used to know all of these things off the top of my head. I watched those films and read the book so many times. Well, I read the book once. I've seen the films a lot. Galadriel, that was it. There was going to be a massive pause there till I remember what it was, but I can't remember how old she was meant to be. And the guy that was sort of yeah, the guy who was the head of the other elves. I can't remember how old he was either, but I remember that they weren't young. I mean, they've been around for hundreds of years. I'm sure they had. So they could, in theory, use some of those characters for sure. And it also kind of lets them tap into a massive dwarven story because there wasn't a lot of dwarves around at the time that those books happened because they'd all be kind of slaughtered in a number of ways, haven't they? So it opens it up a bit more actually. To be fair to it, so I mean, even a lot of the stuff that you see that's really historic in the films, like the two massive statues, which I've got. I got them with one of the box sets of the DVDs, the two massive statues of the two kings holding their arms out, and stuff like that. I mean, you maybe get to see how all that kind of came to be, and how some of the old relics that they come across in travels and stuff happened and stuff like that. So it does open itself up a fair bit. Really excited about it. I hope they do something really cool with it, and it's not just a button masher, like Path of Exile is. But we don't know anything. So I think a lot of them. I'm not sure. I think a lot of MMOs are more top-down, third-person type stuff. But if you look, I mean, I think Elder Scrolls is probably slightly different in that respect, that it's first person. But I don't know. I haven't done a lot of it, and a lot of this stuff has gone to PC, and not a lot of it has come to console. But anyway, uber excited about it. It's going to be years off yet, but it'll be really exciting to see what they've done. It's nice to know that there was a Lord of the Rings thing in the mix happening, and I'm still a little bit gutted that there hasn't been anything Lord of the Rings related happen on console or anywhere really. That is I mean, I'm pretty sure, right? You could probably get the rights to base a game on the books for a really good price. I get why they don't make. I get why big studios don't make games based on films, because the payoff of copyright that they have to pay to the film companies is too massive. But when it comes to books, this is where Batman games were awesome, because they didn't have to pay film companies, because they based their game on the comics and stuff. Everything they did was based on the comic books. So I'm pretty sure that the price you would have to pay for getting the rights to base a game on the Lord of the Rings books would be from a business point of view, would be pretty sensible. So I'm really surprised that we've not seen anything. It's much like the fact that we don't get an awful lot of games based on Romans and Roman stuff. I don't get it. I don't understand why there's not a lot more of them. I mean, I know there's probably loads on Roman type ones on PC, but certainly on console there's been hardly any. So yeah, it surprises me. Surprises me in all of this time. The last decent Lord of the Rings. Well, actually, there was one Lord of the Rings game which I actually loved, which was War in the North. And I'm still determined that I'm going to play that on the channel. It never hit the back compat program, but I've still got my 360, and I'm still determined that I'm going to play that on the channel, because I absolutely loved War in the North. It was a fantastic game. It was also multiplayer, and you could I think you could have up to 3 you and 2 others. And again, it was based on the outskirts of the main story, so everything with the main story was going on, but you were these characters that had to do all this other stuff in other parts of the land while it was all going on, and characters from the film were bobbing in and out in places, not many. I think Liv Tyler's character pitched up, Arwen, I think that was, and a few others. Arwen's dad might have pitched up in it as well, to be fair. So, but I loved that game. I think it got 7s and 8s when it came out. It was a great game. It was an RPG, but it was sort of an action-y RPG. Played a bit like, I suppose, I'm trying to compare it now. I mean, yeah, I mean, it was one of those where you had all the moves. Well, no, it wasn't, because you did actually, when you hit the button, it did, hack and slash. But, you had loads of moves you could unlock and all these different things you could do. You could play as an elf, a dwarf, or an Aragorn type person. So, yeah, it was great. I mean, I've still got it, and I'm still planning it. Well, I'm hoping that in one of my retro playthroughs that I'll do it, and I'll just play it on because it played beautifully on the 360 anyway. So when I do get the 360, that said, I have got it on the PS3 as well, actually, and it might be worth a play on the PS3, that said. But if I remember rightly, I think that game looked and played better on the Xbox, because I remember sticking it into the PS3 and thinking, it doesn't feel as good. because I'd already played it on the 360 by that point. There were certain games that didn't play as well on the PS3 as they did on the 360. There was a few. Bulletstorm was another one. Bulletstorm was a train wreck on the PS3. It was awful, but on the Xbox 360 it was brilliant. It played so smoothly on the 360, but the minute I played it on the PS3, it was screen tearing all over the place. God, it was awful. Anyway, I digress. Moving on now. Very excited about that. Lord of the Rings, bring it. But I'd still love to see a AAA title based on Lord of the Rings coming our way, based on the books though, and just run that. Because I think we've done everything we can do with those movies, man. They've been milked to death. So why not bring us a AAA set of 3, based on the books or whatever, and have different facials and different character art for... based. I mean, there's so much art done for the books anyway. You're getting gift handed it, so I'd love to see that. Surprising that big developers haven't picked it up, but anyway, excited that something is happening with Lord of the Rings. Moving swiftly on, let us talk about the thing that's passed me by that everyone else has been talking about for 2 weeks. The Switch Lite has appeared, and it's not a surprise. I think a lot of people saw it coming along with the Switch Pro. Now it's already the new guy, Bowser or whatever his name is. He has already come out and said that that's not happening anytime soon. They've got no plans at the minute to be releasing a Pro version of the Switch, which is surprising to me because the thing that's putting me off the Switch is that, for my liking, it is a portable game system that you can happen to plug into your TV, and you're never going to get high-end performance from that device on a television. You might get you are getting decent enough, quality and gameplay on the handheld system itself. But for my liking, I mean, the Legend of Zelda game that's on it, this is Ocarina of Time, but you know what I mean. The one that's on it, it's a beautiful game, but I find it very sticky playing it on. I did a few episodes for the channel. I was loving playing it, but in places the frame rates are really sticky, and I just wish that they would get back to making some form of console that gives us the power that we want to play a beautiful game really smoothly. And if they're not going to do that, then port their games, let the games be played on other systems, like Sega have ended up doing, because you can now play Sega games, Sonic the Hedgehog on wherever. But, I can't see that ever happening. They'll always stick their own title, because it's the one reason for buying their console is to get their exclusives, isn't it? But it just winds me up. I get what they're doing. I understand why they're trying to be different, but why not have a Switch that when you plug it into the base unit gives it more power? At the moment, all the base unit does is push it up to 1080p on the TV and make it run not as well at 1080p. Why couldn't the base unit be something that Ubers up the Switch when it's not, like switches over to the power of that? I mean, I would pay through the nose for something like that. Anyway, but I think the only people that are going to... The Switch Lite is basically the same, but you can't take the Joy-Cons, everything's fixed, it's one piece. So there's nothing sliding off the sides. You can't put it on the big telly. It doesn't plug into anything else. It is what it is. It's just a portable handheld, and I think this is clearly that they're trying to phase out the 3DS, I think, or the 3D or whatever it is they're on with now. The Nintendo 3DSs and everything, they're obviously just doing away with them, and they want these to take over, which is fair enough. I get it, and I never thought that the 3DSs were particularly comfortable to hold or anything. I never owned one, but I played my son's. I think the whole 3D thing's gone out the window anyway. So I think that they are pushing these lights at the people that are playing the 3DSs. The problem is you've got to get that library of games off of 3DS onto the Switch if you're going to do that, or do some sort of backward compatible thing where you can transport your games over from the 3DS to the Switch, or something to make these people go and buy a Switch and not have to leave everything that they were doing on the 3DS behind. Would make some kind of sense. And they don't have any sort of trophy worries because they don't have a trophy system, which is still poor game in my opinion. Because I think it's kind of wanted now that people have some form of achievement when they play a game. It's not necessary. I mean, I still enjoy playing a game when I've already got the trophies. But I love seeing them pop up. I love seeing, like, you know, that I've achieved something. It just makes you feel good, doesn't it? And it make you feel like your time's been worth spent, and it adds to your little number that everybody else can see, or you know. So yeah, I can't see anybody that actually owns a Switch already going and buying one of those. Like, what would be the point? The Switch they've got is already doing exactly the same job, and it can go on the TV. So I think this is clearly aimed at either people that just love Nintendo and want cool different versions of the handheld, which I can see a lot of people doing, or people that want to have one that they take on the road and one that they keep at home. Or, but I think mainly it's aimed at people that have 3DSs and they want to get them shifted over to the Switch, or people that just haven't bought a Switch yet and don't care about playing it on the big screen. So I think it's a good addition, though. I think it's a wise move by them, and it cuts the price down as well. So yeah, I expected it, but I would have hoped that they would have done something more pro with their system to allow for better performance for the people that wanted to pay for it. So it'd be interesting to see how long that takes to happen. I mean, they say they've nothing in the works yet, but I mean, how long does it take really to make something in the works? Not much, I wouldn't have thought. Not if you're going too far off base with it. So I would expect them to be doing something either before or around the time that the PS5 and Xbox 2 or whatever they decide to call it comes out. So yeah, so that's it really. I won't be buying one, and to be fair, I barely touched my Switch anyway, and I'll only probably ever play exclusives on it. So I know quite a few of you fancied me playing a bit more Zelda, but there just wasn't enough views on it. And to be honest, it wasn't even that. I would have kept playing it, but I don't even know if I'm going to get back to it. It was this whole weapons breaking thing. It just wound me up no end. Like, there was nothing exciting about the weapons. Like, there is nothing exciting about fighting with a twig. You know what I mean? Like, and then it breaks and you've got to find another twig. It's just not fun. Like, I don't like. It's like the shittiest, cheapest way of having a loot system. You know what I mean? Give me decent loot in a game of that caliber. Like, don't give me branches, twigs, and poles. Like, that is not exciting. I don't want to have to get to master level to get a sword that doesn't break, and that sword be the same forever. Like, give me a loot system that's fun and interesting and makes me go, oh wow, look at that. Not a fecking branch every 2 minutes. Jesus Christ. It's a big mistake that. I don't know what they were thinking. But anyway, let us move on to my final point, which has nothing to do with gaming, but I'm gonna ask the question again. I've mentioned it last week as well, I think. But there is still only 3 people joined up to the Fantasy League, which I asked people if they wanted to join. There was around 11 people that said that they did want to join, but I've yet to see anybody. There's only me and 2 others joined into it. It's Joystick League, if you want to join. I understand, though, there's still about 3 or 4 weeks to go, but, you know, if you want to join, get it done as soon as you can, because I need to know it's worthwhile, otherwise I'll take it away and I'll just give out the number for my other one, I think, if that gets going properly. But I'd like to have this one for the channel anyway. If you all join up and get all 11 of you, whoever it was, or even more if people want to join in. This is the Fantasy League. It's soccer for those of you in America. And it's for the Premier League in the UK, or, well, England, really. So, yeah, so get joined up as soon as you can, because I want to know it's worthwhile. I'd like to have this one running as well as my other one. If we can get everybody into this one, the 11 people or more that want to join it, and you still want to join my other one, then that's great. I'll get that sorted out. But I want to make sure that there's enough for you in the other one. I quite like to have a channel one anyway, just so that I can battle out with you guys and have a bit of fun with it. I mean, I'm not that good at it, guys, you know what I mean? So don't be afraid of doing it, because I'm bloody awful. I only do it for the crack of it, and it makes the goal scoring every week more interesting when you're watching the football and stuff. So crack into it. Come on, join in. I'm not very good. You'll beat me. Even if you've never done it before, just give it a go. Right, if you do want to join in, I shall read it all out again. It's called, you go to fantasyleague.com or whatever it is, fantasy.premierleague.com or something like that. And it's the official one for the English Premier League. Joystick League is the name of the league itself, and if you want to join, the code to join is GT31IK. That's all little letters. GT31IK. There you are. That is all I have to talk about, people. You see, it's on my iPad again. Well, to be fair, I had a laptop this time. So there you are, that's all I have to talk about. I'm done. If I talk any more, it will be dribble. Not that it's not been dribble already, but, you know, cheers again. You know I'd buy you one. I would. Blimey, I feel like I've been talking for bloody ages, and I think I have. I think I've creamed that one, people. And milked it for all it was worth. I'm going to go. It has been an honour and a privilege serving for you in this cheap little vlog of mine, and I shall see you all soon. Take it easy. Bye.